This, of course, is very disturbing, and a large amount of wealth has just evaporated that we thought we had planned on. And when you talk about, you know, the real difficulty of the mission, you have to come to the point with this type of mission, you end up with, you have to, I mean, every screw has to have its quality tested, and that's part of this. Well, I can tell you, this is about the biggest screw job I've ever seen, and it's the taxpayers getting screwed here. And however, let us note when we say that and understand that, and we expect more, that this is not inconsistent with other things that we have witnessed from NASA and from the aerospace industry. I remember the C-17 project, and the C-17 was $1 billion over budget, and they were going to close down the whole line. And I remember, it was one of the first things when I came here. I remember calling my father, who was a DC-3 pilot in World War II, saying, should I vote for the money to put this C-17 back in production, because they have already gone almost $1 billion overrun, and they're going to have to start all over in building the line. And my dad said, well, let me ask you this. Do you think the C-17 is going to be needed by our people who are defending our country in the future? And I said, well, yes, because we're going to have to project power. And thank God I thought of that. Because I said, in the future, we're going to have to project our power to areas on the other side of the world rather than having bases everywhere. And he said, well, then you just answered your question. You need the airplane. And he said, every single plane I know, my dad was a career pilot, every single plane had cost overruns. Every single plane, he says, because they're trying to do what they haven't done before. And that's what goes with that territory when you're doing something that you've never done before. I would hope that we can be more realistic, and we can hope that Mr. Bridenstine and his new job here can be more realistic in the assessments. Let's note that in 2002, we awarded $824 million TRW for this telescope project, and it was supposed to be launched 8 years later, and now it's twice as long as what was expected, and the cost is 12 times more than expected for the James Webb telescope. But when you look back, the Hubble Space Telescope was 12 times the cost and twice as long as expected as well. I think I see a trend there somewhere. And I think that we need to be very serious about that. I mean, I remember we had trouble with the space station as well in cost overruns, and we've had certainly with the Hubble and the C-17. Let me ask you, Mr. Young, are people bidding, is one of the problems is that these professionals that we rely on in the aerospace industry, are they bidding and saying they can do something before they know they can do it? Or, you see, it's one thing to say, I think we believe we can do this, but are they basing a lot of their bids on maybe something that they don't know they can do, but they think they can? Is that one of the problems?
If you take JWST, the bidding was, a long time ago, as you point out, was in '02. And NASA, we've come a long way since '02 in our understanding as to how to cost these projects and how to establish schedule for these projects. But I think it is fair to recognize that with cost-plus programs, you're not going to enjoy this answer, but with cost-plus programs, contractors fundamentally bid lowest credible cost. And it's really up to the evaluators to have a competent capability such that lowest credible doesn't win. So there is a situation that exists, but that's the status that existed then and probably, still to a degree exists today. But as long as lowest credible cost wins, lowest credible cost will be bid.
And can we change that? Is there an alternative to that?
Sure, there's an alternative, and that is how smart the buyer is to be able to establish what the realistic costs are and to punish in the bidding process bidding unrealistically low cost.
Well, when we try to analyze what the cost of a screw job is going to be, I hope that we understand that that's what's the cost to the American people if we aren't handling that in a professional way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rohrabacher. The gentleman from